So when people say what is true for you is not true for me, that's kind of perplexing. Where are people trying to communicate with that? You'll notice hardly anyone uses that claim when you're talking about an object right in front of you. I say there's a chair there. It's unlikely someone's going to say, well, that's true for you, but not for me. Why? Because they can see it. But truth has nothing to do with you or me. So it can't be just true for you or true for me and not true for you. If I believe there's a chair there, you believe there isn't a chair, one of us has got to be right. So then what are people trying to communicate when they say what's true for you is not true for me? Because they don't use it about chairs. They don't tend to use it about science. Some do, but it's not as common. In what realm do people start to throw out, well, what's true for you is not true for me? What sort of discussion is someone having when they get approached with that? Morals, yeah, morality. Philosophy, what's that? Theology, okay. What's that? Spirituality. Right, okay. So what makes it my belief that there's a chair here true is that there's a chair, whether I know it or not, right? Let's say we're talking about abortion. We're saying either abortion is right or abortion is wrong. Suppose I say abortion is morally permissible, you say abortion is wrong. That's a harder one. So it may be harder to figure out who's right. But because it's hard to figure out who's right, does it then follow both of us are right? Who's right? The one who has the true belief that corresponds to the fact. That's the one who's right. If we're disagreeing about what kind of God exists, suppose we both believe that God exists, but we're disagreeing about what God is like. And it's really hard to figure out which of us is right. Does it follow then that both of us are right? No. So why is it I'm talking with someone and I say, I think God is atemporal, and they say, well, what's true for you is not true for me. What are they trying to say then? Okay, I disagree with you. Fine. And that was already apparent from the conversation. Usually people say what's true for you is not true for me after you've locked horns with them and you've come to no resolution. So if all they're saying is, well, we just disagree with each other, that was kind of apparent. Why are you telling me that? I already knew that. That's why we feel like we're about to punch each other. Because we were disagreeing. Now, one last thing. Let's evaluate the notion that reality is not black and white, it's gray. There are ways of making that claim, of drawing it out, that might be correct. But I think the way most people are talking about it, they're mistaken. Here's what I mean. Reality doesn't change when I do this. I cannot, there's Billy, and yeah, just because I already knew you were sitting there, I mean, it's blurry. Did you become blurry? You are the way you are. Reality is the way it is, regardless of whether you know it or not. So maybe it is black or white. The problem is figuring out which one. What we say is, when we can't figure it out, it must be gray, but that doesn't follow. There could still be a right answer to important questions. So mathematicians disagree about Goldbach's conjecture. I can't remember what the conjecture is exactly. Any even number is the sum of two primes. They haven't been able to prove it. There are some who believe Goldbach's conjecture is true. There are some who believe it's false. Now, does it make sense to run into the mathematics community and say, here, I know what the problem is? None of you are right. It's gray. Does it make any sense to say, well, since you can't figure out who's right, no one is right? Or is it the case that reality is the way it is, regardless of whether we know it or not? So here's the question. Is grayness actually a feature of reality, or is it more in us? Is it that things appear gray when in fact they are the way they are? They're one way rather than another.